I'm going on. I'm live. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. لله تبارك وتعالى. I praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and I thank Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for the blessings of Al-Islam. I thank Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for his countless endowments that we cannot enumerate. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala give us the success to be grateful for every single endowment he has given us. Ameen. Let me give salam to all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And to answer some of you, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. With me today in the comment section is Imam Genius. Let us all give assalam to Imam Genius, Imam Naeem Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Sayyidi Imam. Kufi's off to you, my brother. Just in case you didn't know, hey, Imam Boombat, mashallah, assalamu alaikum to you too. These are two brothers that I have deep love for. You know, they sacrifice their life, their time, their safety, just to do the good things and be together. It's not easy being affiliated with Imam Naeem. It is very hazardous to your health. I can't help us. We just do what we do. But I wanted to, with all fun aside, I wanted to talk about something that I think is very important. And that is taqleed. Someone said something to me. And it made me think about this subject. Several people said something to me. I get my ideas from people talk to me, and then my thoughts just go. A taqleed is following qualified scholarship. In other words, a taqleed is following another person in a legal ruling when you don't know the evidence for that ruling, right? And in another way, it is to say, in a more simpler way, without the technical term, it is to follow a madhab, a legal school of law, right? Or a methodology of a qualified scholar. So these, when you're following a madhab, that is called taqlid. So the question comes, who must follow a madhab? Who must follow a madhab? The person who must follow a madhab is considered a common person, a lay person, an average Muslim. That means they are not a scholar. All right. So I want to ask a question, and I'm not being sarcastic. Are there any scholars on this live right now? Is there anyone? And if you think you're a scholar, just say it. I'm a scholar. I mean, I don't have a problem. You may be. I don't know. But is there anyone here who believes that they are legitimately a scholar? Is there anyone? No, I want to answer. It's a lot of people. So you can say no or yes, but I want you to answer. Speak out loud for once. Just speak out loud. Yes or no? If you believe you're a scholar, hey, I'm a scholar. I'm not going to attack you. It's not a trick. If you believe you're a scholar, it's fine. You believe you're a scholar. If you don't, just please put no. I want to know who I'm talking to. Am I talking to ulama or am I talking to other than scholars? Okay. Not by the legal definition. Okay, good. So from what we said, all right, let me start. I'm not a scholar. I'm not even a tenth of a scholar. All right. So if you want to measure, I'm not even a tenth of a scholar. All right. So that gives, so now watch yourself when you make claims. Which is nothing I'm not shy about. I'm not a tenth of a scholar because I know what a scholar is, right? So that's not hard for me to say, hey, guess what? This is Fantasy Island, right? I'm not a tenth of a scholar. So since we have no scholars, a taqlid, which is following a madhab, is binding, is obligatory on every single one of us who are not scholars. Since we're not scholars, that means we don't have the tools to deduce legal rulings independently from the primary Islamic sources. Follow that. Since we said we are not scholars, right? That means we must practice at-taqlid. That means we must follow qualified scholarship. Why? Because we don't have the necessary tools and qualifications to independently deduce legal rulings from the primary Islamic sources. And I want you to follow me in this, so I'm going to engage you. What are the primary Islamic sources of law? The primary sources that are agreed upon by Sunni Muslims, Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. This is an important lesson. And it has a lot of connections that we may not realize. Okay, good. So the primary sources are four, according to Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, according to Sunni Muslims. Al-Quran, Al-Sunnah, Al-Ijma' and Al-Qiyas, right? That's the primary sources. And what does that mean when you say I don't have the qualification to deduce legal rulings from those sources? That means that I don't have the ability to go into the Al-Quran and extract the rules related to the morally responsible individuals in terms of obligatory, recommended, permissible, disliked, unlawful, right? In other words, I can't extract legally what is lawful and unlawful independently by myself without anyone's help. I cannot go into the Quran and say, okay, here's the rule of Allah for all of these matters. I cannot go into a sunnah and do that. I can't go into, and when we say a sunnah, when we're talking about the source, what are we actually talking about? When we use it as a legal source of law, so I have the Quran, where I'm gonna get the Quran, I understand the book of the Quran. When we talk about a sunnah, where are we going to learn that at? That's a question. Hadith what? Maryam Rose, hadiths. Fatima, what hadiths? Right. Good. You will get online no matter what. I'm going to force you online. The major books of hadith. Maryam Rose. That's going to become a meme. Shaquille, I just gave you one. Get busy. Make your video. So, not just the major books of hadith, the books of hadith, whether they're major ones or minor ones, the books of hadith, right? So the books of hadith, and we discussed some of them. We can go back over that later. Right now, that's not the point, right? The books of hadith. And al-ijma, consensus. How are we going to know where's the consensus? Oh, good question. So al-ijma, consensus. How are we going to know if something's a consensus or not? Where are we going to find that information? Let's see if you understand. Since we are scholars, no, we said we're not scholars. We just act like scholars. I play a scholar on TV. Right? How are we going to know if something's ijma or not? Where are we going to get that information from? Do we have any idea? I'm not saying how do we know something is ijma. Where are we going to get that information? How are we going to know something is a case of ijma or not? How would we know it? Us, I'm talking about. So this is consensus. How do you know? From where did you get it? That's a question. Anyone answer? Scholarly text. What scholarly text? Bingo. Good, Imam Naeem. The way you're going to know a case of ijma is from the works of mujtahid scholars. Those works, their writings, their books, will mention cases from which we learn about ijma in every time and place, right? When there's a consensus issue, the works of the mujtahid scholars are going to mention those issues, right? Because the ijma comes from them. Those mujtahid scholars are scholars who have the qualifications to deduce legal rulings from the Islamic sources. So in their works, in their writings, in the reports from them, in the writings of the scholars, they will mention these cases of consensus. That's how you're going to know that. So you're not going to be able to find that in hadith books. It's very important because we said it's a source, a primary source, which should tell you the primary sources are important because they're going to mention cases that you're not going to find in hadith books. Very important. This is very important. That means if I'm just reading Quran and Sunnah, I may contradict cases of ijma, which is a primary source of Islamic law. Very, very, very important, right? Unfortunately, Brother Nadir, most of our Islamic literature is not in English. That's a good question. And I have an unfortunate answer. Unfortunately, which shows how much work we have to do, most of the books that we need to do the work we're talking about are not in the English language. To have the qualifications to do independent legal deductions, most of the material that you need, the tools, the books, are in the Arabic language, and they have not been translated into English. And I seriously doubt in our lifetime that that will happen. It's just too much. And we don't spend no money on it. And it means groups of scholars, and I mean groups, tens, if not hundreds of scholars would have to be dedicated 24 hours a day, every day, translating. And no one's going to pay for that. Right? So that's not going to happen. So unfortunately, if you don't know Arabic, you don't even have access. It's definitely not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. That's life. It's not going to happen. Because not even 10% of the works that are needed are translated in our English. Not even 10%. And I'm not exaggerating. The works that are needed to do what we're talking about, not even 10% of them are translated in English. Not even 10%. So, with that being said, that doesn't discourage us. I mean, we just realize where we're at. At least when you know where you're at, you know what to do, right? So it's not as something as should be a means of to be discouraged. No, don't be discouraged. But no, let's be realistic. So when that's the case, and then you have qiyas, even, and let's be honest, I just, because I don't want us to be in a state of delusion. Even if you learn Arabic the quality of Islamic education, you're still not going to get it. If you're going to a school and you're going to go, say, to, I don't care where you go to one of these major universities, you're still not going to have the tools. Let me be real with you. The average graduate from an Islamic university is not even fully equipped to read the books, let alone to extract something from them. I repeat, the average graduate from the Islamic universities today is not even qualified to read the books, let alone extract legal rulings. Please put that up. Put that up, what I just said. The average graduate from an Islamic university today is not qualified to read the books, let alone extract legal rulings. I want you to copy that. Copy what I just said, because we got to be real with ourselves. The average graduate from an Islamic university today is not qualified to read the books, let alone extract legal rulings. That's a big statement, right? Okay, let me make it clear to you. How many of you are business owners with a technical skill set? You own a business that it's a technical area that you know, not just a store, but you have some things that take some skill set. Business. I don't want to know what it is. How many of you own a business that is a skilled business? Or you work in a trade that's a skilled trade or a career that you need skills? How many of you work in something like that or run something like that? I don't want to know what it is. I just want to know, like, so I'm trying to give you a point. I need your help. Okay, good. When I say a skilled trade or career, because it takes some skills. How many children that come out of college, they graduate from college, that you would let be in charge of your business without an apprenticeship? They just get out of college and you're going to let them run your business or give them a high-paying job starting out? No, none, right? You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. All right, so now you understand what I'm saying. And in the Islamic sense, it's worse. You're not going to do it at all. This kid just got out of college. An average kid just getting out of college, we're not saying they're stupid. No one said that. But they don't have no experience or skills. They don't know what they're doing. They got to be taught. And you get one, he's rare, and that's a special, or he or she is rare, and that's a special student, right? That's a special student. So I'm just giving you a way we can wrap your head around what I'm saying, because you do know it. Like, this college kid's coming out, man, I'm not letting him run my company. And that's what you're asking the college kid that gets out of the university to go take legal rulings. You're trying to say he's a lawyer. Come on, man. The guy just got out of college. Has no experience. Doesn't know what he's doing. And why am I mentioning this? Because if we don't understand it, we'll never change the condition. We won't even work towards it. If we don't understand where we're at, we'll think we've arrived somewhere that we haven't. And that's part of our problem as a community. right? We don't even know what we're missing and what we need. So for us, I mentioned all this to say that's what we just described to you. Now, al-qiyas is a whole nother bag. I think we got the point from the first three. Al-qiyas would mean, as an individual scholar, you're going to deal with cases that were not mentioned in the Quran, not mentioned in the Sunnah. There is no consensus. And then you're going to use your skill and knowledge of all the sources and tools of Islamic law to come up with the legal ruling by way of taking something that exists now that did not exist in the past and relate it to give a legal ruling. That's a lot. Now, what kind of scholar you got to be to do that? Quoting ijma is easy because you're quoting, I'm talking about in terms of this is ijma. You can just look at books and look at the statements of the mujtahideen scholars, go through the books of the Madhaahib, and you will see what cases are consensus and which not in certain books. Now, to do that work of bringing up a ruling by yourself, independently, without no one else, as using previous precedents to arrive at rulings that never existed, woo, that's Ric Flair there. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. Is any of us, let's just, we already talked about it anyway, but let's reiterate it. Are any of us like that? Really? Are any of us like that? I mean, let's just be realistic. No, it's not real. It's fantasy island, and if we want to live like that, I don't know what that spells for us in the future, right? So that's why you have to follow a madhab. Any questions in that? Just is this point basically clear without me going into the details of it? I'm going to finish this over the next couple of days too, but I just want to get stopped right here because I'm running out of time. Yes, and that's what I'm going to discuss. I'm going to discuss this probably over this next week. What's today? I don't even know the days. Today's Thursday, right? Maybe over the next few days, I'm going to discuss this issue because it's important if we're ever going to learn properly, right? And when we understand this, we're not going to be hoodwinked so easily, right? Because what we have today is learned people, people who have knowledge, acting as though they are mujtahid scholars. And when we don't know the difference, those unqualified people are playing doctors on us, and we are suffering, right? Without realizing it's not bad if I know you're not qualified, so you may make mistakes. And that's fine. We'll figure it out. We know where to go. But right now, this is what we're working with. That's different from the one who is unqualified, acting as though they're qualified, as if I'm the final, the buck stop here type attitude, right? right? That's a difference. So I was talking to somebody and they was like, my sheikh said. I said, what the heck that means? What you mean what that means? Just what I said. What does that mean? Your sheikh said it. Who's your sheikh? I said, that's not a proof. Your sheikh said it. And I'm not talking about giving me a Quran or a Sunnah. I'm like, your sheikh is muqallid. Your sheikh follows a school of thought. That means he has to follow the madhab. When your sheikh is coming up with something that's not in the madhab, where did he get that from? And what made him qualified to come up with it? Right? Someone actually said that the sheikh said this. The sheikh is wrong. It ain't disrespectful. He's not following the school. He made up his own stuff and made it as a part of the school. You don't find it in no book of the school. What are you talking about? In no book of the madhab do you follow his statement at all. What are you talking about? He said. He's obligated to follow just like you. He's only quoting. He shouldn't be making up his own stuff. He's not a mujtahid. He should be quoting what the scholars of the madhab said, not what he thinks. Even if he doesn't say the scholars of the madhab say this, I'm not saying that. I mean, his statement is in accordance with the school. Do you follow what I mean by that? Not he just makes it up because he's the sheikh. And that's not disrespectful. It's disrespectful for him to be doing a job that's not his job. That's disrespectful. Like, where'd you get that from? And then, worse to that, he quotes a book that's not even from the books of the school. Like, what are you talking about? Listen, worse than that, he quotes a book that is not even a book of the school as a proof. Huh? That's not even a book that's relied in the school. What are you talking about? No one who studies the school, most of the people in the school never even heard of the book. What are you talking about? It's not a proof. It needs to be checked. It could be right, it could be wrong, but it in and of itself is not an evidence. The book that you're quoting is not even a book in the madhab. No one who studies the madhab reads that book except his followers. What are you talking about? I'm just showing you where we at. So it's important to say, okay, listen, this is what we're trying to do. This is what we're trying to do. Listen, it's not about egos here, right? Because we don't have a right to have an ego. Anyone who has any access, you don't have to be a scholar. We already established we're not scholars. We already established we don't know enough Arabic. That's established. It's given. It's a surrender. Even if you know more Arabic than us, that doesn't qualify you in and of itself. Listen to my point. Even if the person knows Arabic better than you, that in and of itself does not qualify him to deduce legal rulings. Is that understood? Right? Because that's the game. I speak Arabic, and that makes you. I never saw anywhere in any book that says the only condition for you to deduce legal rulings is that you know the Arabic language. I've never seen that in no book among the books of the principles of jurisprudence that mention the qualifications that someone needs to be a qualified legal scholar. I never where it says just Arabic language. Where do you get that from? Show me. Give me one book that says that. In any school. So this is, I mean, listen, it is so that we can realize where we're at. And like I said, this is a step because we're talking generational Islam. You know how the Wahhabi doctrine spread among us? Not realizing this fact. That's one of the ways. Not realizing what is scholarship, what it looks like, where we get it from, and to begin that process. That's still missing in our communities. Hence, this idea I follow Quran and Sunnah, which is crazy. It's insane to really believe that. I follow Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. That's insane. Listen, the one who says that is Majnoon. He just doesn't know he's Majnoon. He's crazy. He just doesn't know he's crazy. That is insane to say something like that. And worse, to believe it. Like to really think, I follow Quran and Sunnah. Huh? Say that again. You, me, that's it, Quran and Sunnah. That's insane. It's equivalent of me saying, I'm going to do heart surgery on you. Who would accept Imam Amin? Amin Muhammad's going to do heart surgery on you. Who's going to accept? Is any of you going to accept? I'm going to do heart surgery on you. No, you don't. You don't even want to accept my fatwa, let alone me doing heart surgery. Talk about some me. Yeah, right. Right. No, it's serious, right? You got a better chance of letting me do heart surgery on you than letting somebody operate on you with the Quran and the Sunnah. You have a better chance of me doing heart surgery on you than someone operating on your deen, talking about they follow Quran and Sunnah. Because at the end of the day, if I do heart surgery on you, you're going to die. Count on it. You're going to die, right? But if I do Quran and Sunnah surgery on you, you might go to hell forever. You may end up in hellfire forever. At least if I do surgery, you're still going to die a believer, right? But if you let someone do Quran and Sunnah surgery on you, you may end up in hellfire. You may fall into disbelief. Depending who's doing it. Depending the surgeon. Depending on the surgeon. So this is some serious stuff. I'm laughing, but it's not funny in the sense of what I'm saying. So for us, this is an important aspect. And we'll never produce what we need if we don't realize where we're at, right? Producing what we need is going to be almost, I know we're not going to see it, but we can start the process. Even if the process is waking us up, right? If that's the beginning of the process, just waking us up to realize what we're missing, right? That's a step, right? If we could get to the step where all of us are beginners in following qualified legal scholarship, right? So if we start out of really being muqallid, right? We start out there. Like, and we start the process. We're going to study a basic manual of Islamic jurisprudence. We're going to have some real access and knowledge to the Islamic side. We're not claiming. We just want to know what's available, right? That's a step. Then the next generation, like I'll give you an example. We started out, we were failures, right? We started out on our own. No guides, no nothing. Go overseas and just figure it out, right? So we get to a certain point and we just confused. We don't have, this is just going for it. Okay, but when doing that, we discovered some things. We met teachers, we met people, we learned some things. Now the next generation, we're saying, you're not going to be like me. When you go overseas, you're going here, you're going to meet this person, you're going to go to this school. When you finish this, go to this one for that, this one for that, this one for that. Now the next generation did that. They met teachers, they graduated. That's the next generation, which we're at now. Now they don't know nothing, but they learned more than we got. And they moved the bar higher, or they moved us closer to the bar. Now it's their job, it's our job. We still not finished. Because remember, they still don't know. Now we got to facilitate for them the ability to engage in what they learned. They can't do that on their own. If we don't support them, they're going to stop right there because they're going to be chasing Mr. Charlie trying to get a job, right? They're going to try. So we got to take care of that because this is a full-time occupation. This is their job. We have to provide them the necessary books, the necessary teachers, the money so that they can be dedicated to it, research. That's our job. So they don't have nothing else on their mind but learning, right? Nothing but learning. That's a stage. Because you know what's happening to a lot of graduates? They graduate, even if they don't go from a school. They go, they study with a sheikh, they learn with an isnad and the chain of narration, or they get a diploma, which, okay, whatever, right? Then they come back to America, and some businessman is telling them what to do. They got some board of businessmen, the trustees in the masjid, a board of businessmen telling them what to do. Listen what I said. They went and studied, then they come back and they got a board of businessmen telling them what to do. We pay your salary, so this is what you do. Most of them are not even teaching 20% of what they learned. They're not even engaged. They go to be an imam of a masjid, they're not even engaged. Everything they learned is wasted because you got to do the business of the masjid and the business and the bidding of the board of directors. And this is real. So it's a waste. He learned all this stuff and he's trying to figure out, or she's trying to figure out how to make a salary, which is killing their scholarship or the ability for them to be scholars. They don't even have time to research like they need. So we still have a job. We got to provide for them to do the work. All right, I have to stop. To be continued tomorrow morning, inshallah. How far before Muawiyah returns? How far before Muawiyah returns? Returns what? He might be tomorrow if you don't give him no money. No, I'm joking. How far before he returns? What you mean, as a scholar? Light years. That'd be real. I mean, he needs Muawiyah. If you're talking about to produce something serious, you really need at least 10, 15 years. Serious? If you want something serious. if you just want claims in 3-4 years. But if you want something serious that can begin the work, he needs about 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years before he's even, I'm talking about to be serious, 10 to 15 years. And he needs to be supported, and he needs every resource, and he actually needs to teach. So he has to learn first, then he has to teach, he has to be in the field, he has to be supported, and then he has to do real research. Traveling, it's a lot involved. So if we're serious, 10 to 15 years to begin the process. And Muawiyah is like, man, this guy always put me on the spot. Nah, Farouk put you on the spot, not me, right? No, you should invest in him. I think he's a very important investment. But I think that should be a collective investment. Don't do that by yourself. Don't just send him money. We should work together, right? We should work together as an organized front. That's why I started that scholarship fund. And he's among them, right? For our community, because most of us don't realize what needs to be done. So if you're just giving money, that's like sending money to a college kid. And just, I'm sending you money. What is a college kid going to do with the money when you just send him money? He's going to be buying halal chicken and riding the Uber, bullcrapping, right? You need someone who knows what needs to be done and ensure that they do it. Seriously, you need to know the environment. You need to know who are the teachers, who are the scholars. No, you got to go do this, you got to go do that, you got to go do that, right? It's very important. If you're serious, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It's not, it's not something that we can take lightly and play around with. It's serious. I have to go. Inshallah, I'll see you in post-Fajr reflections. Barakallahu bikum. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. But we're going to talk about how to do it, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.